Nigeria's COVID-19 cases now stand at more than 1,200 as NCDC declares 91 new cases on Sunday. Kano's new emir, Alhaji Aminu Ado-Bayero, says the city's mysterious deaths were not related to coronavirus. On the international scene, Italy plans to ease COVID-19 restrictions as Germany reopens shops. And in sport, FIFA speaks on COVID-19 operational funding.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria's COVID-19 infections continue to spread as the Nigerian Center for Disease Control announced 91 new cases on Sunday. The total now stands at 1,273. As usual, Lagos recorded the highest number at 43 cases. 239 COVID-19 patients have been discharged across the country and 40 deaths have been recorded. NCDC Director General Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu said on Sunday, Nigeria needs more testing kits to expand its COVID-19 testing capacity. The Director General said 2 more laboratories have been added to the existing 13 labs, but his Twitter message raised fears the country might lack needed kits for testing. Meanwhile, anxiety pervades the air in Kano, where many individuals, including prominent personalities, have been dying daily of an unknown ailment. Among them are administrators, bankers, media administrators, businessmen, and public servants, including former Executive Secretary to State Universal Basic Education Board, SUPEB, Dr. Nasiru Maikano Bichi. There have been suggestions that deaths were caused by the ongoing pandemic, but new Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado-Bayero, said in a statement the deaths were not COVID-19 related. The Emir called for more prayers and consoled the bereaved families. Nigerians are eagerly awaiting President Muhammadu Buhari's speech tonight on the lockdown that has kept residents of Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory in their houses for a month now. The lockdown expires today and residents have been clamoring for a lifting of the lockdown. The president had said earlier that the lockdown would last as long as necessary while COVID-19 cases continue to climb in the country. But many are hoping for lifting tonight as they complain of shortage of funds, food, and other essentials for daily living. There have been many conjectures but no predictions on what the president would announce, especially for Lagos, the epicenter of the pandemic, where cases have been recorded daily in the high double digits. Governors in many other states have also followed the federal government's move by imposing lockdowns in their states to curb the spread of the virus. The Nigeria Governors Forum has adopted an interstate border closure to discourage transmission of the coronavirus across state borders. Certain areas of Lagos saw many residents on the roads who might have thought the lockdown had expired last night. It is believed the president's decision would hinge heavily on reports he received from Minister of Health, Dr. Asage Ehanire, and the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, on efforts to curb the spread of the virus in the country. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, has given a chilling jobs prediction it says would result in the country as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The association says massive job losses should be expected unless urgent efforts are put in place to support the private sector. NECA is recommending the establishment of a job retention scheme, which would have the government absorbing 60% of private sector salaries until June for workers that are not laid off. The association cited examples of the United Kingdom, France, Denmark, and other European countries. NECA's Director General Timothy Olawale says such a move would lower the heat of negative impact on businesses and will slow the rate of job losses. Some Christian and Muslim clerics have been vocally opposed to the federal government's lockdown order that shut the doors to their worship centers. Some have decided to flout the order and hold services anyway. Well, 2 pastors and 3 imams in Abuja have come face to face with the consequences of their disobedience as a mobile court has sentenced each of them to 1 month in prison or a 5,000 naira fine for violating the lockdown rule and holding services in their churches and mosques in the capital city. One woman has been killed in a building collapse in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, on Sunday. She was trapped under the rubble at Onikpashan area of the city. A report says an excavator was taken to the scene of the collapse by the Ibadan Northeast local government, where they carried out rescue operations and evacuated the body of the deceased. The deceased has since been buried. A police public relations officer of the State Police Command, Olugbenga Fadeyi, said the woman was the wife of the building owner. Coming up, African news. Ethiopia increases its COVID-19 testing capacity. And later, international news. Italy plans to ease COVID-19 restrictions as Germany reopens shops.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Shops in Egypt reopened this weekend after a month-long closure. Authorities hope allowing people more time on the streets will help pick up the economy. Reporter Edu El Maruki has the details.
Over the past month, shops in Egypt have been forced to close at night during weekdays and shut completely on weekends. These are usually the busiest sales times. Many have suffered under the COVID-19 partial lockdown.
At first, we used to sell a lot of disinfectant wipes and liquid, but not anymore. It lasted for a week and then people got bored. They are now staying at home and they have their stocks and the sales have now dropped. It's below the usual average. There are clients that I haven't seen in weeks. Those with kids are afraid to go out and they don't want to get infected.
The government has finally lifted some of its restrictions. All malls and shops can now operate all week long until 9 o'clock in the evening when the night curfew begins. The first weekend has passed, but Hamdi says nothing much has changed for him.
It would have been better if I stayed at home. The entire market around me, if you take a look around, fruits, vegetables, any goods, no one is selling. People have been staying at home without work for over a month now. Where will they get the money? I expected things would be better, but so far they are not.
The Egyptian government is hoping that its relaxation measures in markets would help the economy pick up. That was evident in shopping malls that serve Egyptians with higher income than those at common markets like this one. But it appears some are still struggling.
The COVID-19 pandemic has been reordering social fabrics around the world. In Zimbabwe, homeless persons have suddenly got the attention of the authorities, who have cleared them off the streets and parks and taken them to shelters to ensure they don't contract and disseminate COVID-19. Reporter Faraya Nwakutuye has the story.
They joke how they wouldn't mind COVID-19 lasting till August, so they can stay here during the winter.
The coronavirus has changed my life. If I look at my skin right now, it is different because I'm bathing in clean water and I am eating well.
They've all volunteered to help out in the kitchen and yearn for a fresh start.
As for me, my life is changing and I don't wish to go back in the street.
But the transition to shelters has not been easy for everyone.
We have a big challenge of drug addicts, and they are having to scale the Jurawo at Mount Abden to look for drugs, and we have engaged the Ministry of Health and another NGO which is going to deal with the problem of drug addiction.
Those who are willing at this and similar camps for women and children across the country will receive vocational skills training. This park was one of the preferred spaces for street dwellers to put up for the night. Now that they've been cleared out, authorities want to make sure they never have to resort to it for accommodation again.
Would have failed as a ministry if the majority of these people after the lockdown find themselves back to the streets.
The three I spoke to have no intention of doing so. Tatenda wants to operate earth movers. Frank is hoping to get a driver's license, and Farah is going to try his hand at farming in the village, where the air is much better anyway, he says.
Ethiopian government has increased its daily COVID-19 testing capacity as 12 testing laboratories began operations last week, raising the number of coronavirus testing labs in the country to 20. Reporter Girum Chada is in Addis Ababa.
Ethiopian health officials are managing more than 20 coronavirus testing labs across the country. As the country ramps up door-to-door testing, adding more testing labs is a huge addition, with a capacity of handling 4,000 samples in a day.
We are doing these testing and surveillance jobs door to door. The work is expanded in the capital Addis Ababa and into the major cities across the country. Our primary areas are places where the corona so far have been confirmed, and from there we expand our testing and inspection. These works are also being led at the lower level by health extension workers. Apart from that, we have formed strong community groupings which assess and identify areas for a better contact tracing.
Apart from mass testing, it is also working on a homegrown cure for the virus. The Minister of Health, Elia Tadessa, says some traditional medicine insight from China is under consideration.
There is a discussion going on to learn also what they have done through the traditional medicine. So there is some partnership through this same collaboration. One of the ideas is to learn what they have done through the traditional medicine. So it's under discussion. It may be an ongoing research process that will go.
For now, Ethiopia is preparing itself in case the worst hits. This makeshift hospital of 2,000 beds, for instance, has been readied in just a few weeks. Ethiopia has already put a 5-month state of emergency due to the coronavirus spread. A number of restrictions have been put in place, including curfews on bars, prohibition of gatherings, as well as vehicle movements, and disallowing all sports events. Despite all preparations, the country remains on a high alert.
When we return, international news. Italy plans to ease COVID-19 restrictions as Germany reopens shops. Boris Johnson says it is too risky to do the same in the United Kingdom. And later, sport. FIFA speaks on COVID-19 operational funding.
You are watching ANN.
And add 888 join up.
Which kind of mago be this now? Not be the same 100 when everybody they pays his money.
They no use code.
Which code?
Oh boy, no get it for market to get better. 888 now be the code yo. Abi?
Yes, so anytime you recharge with star 88 star pin hash, MTN will summer you with 5 times your recharge. Make you take turn up better a woof.
Brother, I beg, start me, you
Welcome back. This is ANN News. As more countries continue to debate whether to ease the COVID-19 restrictions, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte says Italy is ready to allow manufacturers, construction companies and some wholesalers to reopen from next Monday, and more businesses like restaurants and bars could reopen from June. It is now more than 2 months since the first case in Italy, and experts are saying it may be foolhardy to reopen the economy too hastily, as that might lead to a second wave of the virus. Conte says the country is ready to combat the virus, but citizens must be ready to adopt all precautions. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has made his very first appearance since his hospital discharge. Johnson is worried about pressure from all sides to ease the lockdown restrictions, but he's not ready to throw away the sacrifices of the British people by exposing them to the risk of a second major outbreak. Johnson insists it is not time to relax the restrictions. As it stands, the UK has more than 20,000 COVID-19 deaths and more than 154 cases. Several European countries are presently looking into what they need to do to get back to normal. Germany is one of them. Despite Chancellor Angela Merkel's warning of a second phase of the virus if lockdown measures are eased, some shops are already opening in Germany and schools are scheduled to resume next month. Reporter Iras Kibzer has more details.
Like many shops in Germany, this Berlin boutique store has had a tough few weeks.
Walk-in clients, obviously, we had zero, so all that fell away. Luckily enough, we had our online store, which was established beforehand.
But now, their doors are open again. With coronavirus infection rates falling, Germany is gradually reopening for business. Among the public, there are mixed feelings about the return to normalcy.
It's good for trade and commerce, but you shouldn't open too much. Otherwise, in 3 or 4 weeks, we might be back to where we were 4 weeks ago.
People are going to get sick. It's not okay. They shouldn't open up. They should wait 2 or 3 months until August, and then maybe. Take it slowly.
But Europe's largest economy is hoping to limit the damage. The head of Germany's Council of Economic Experts said this week he expects growth to fall by at least 5.5% this year. Health officials here believe that the virus's reproduction rate, that's the average number of people that a sick person infects, is currently below 1, largely due to public health measures. However, they've warned that if that number goes back above 1, some restrictions could be reimposed.
Like Germany, Iran also plans to reopen some mosques and COVID-19 free areas of the country. Iran President Hassan Rouhani says the country will be divided up into white, yellow and red regions based on the number of infections and deaths. This means an area that has been consistently free of infections or deaths will be labeled white, and mosques could be reopened and Friday prayers resumed. Deputy Health Minister Iraj Hazarji said in a separate interview that based on information from the Health Ministry, 116 counties in the country will be labeled white and 134 yellow. Health Ministry spokesman Kashnun Jahanpur says death toll has increased by 60 in the past 24 hours. The country has more than 90,000 confirmed cases. South Korean officials are backing up North Korean claims that leader Kim Jong-Un is alive. Officials say news circulating globally that Jong-Un may be ill or isolated because of COVID-19 is false. South Korea's unification minister Kim Yoon-chol, who oversees engagements with the North, says, quote, "The government has the intelligence capabilities to say with confidence that the North Korean leader is fine," end quote. Rumors started flying around about the health status of the leader because he has not been seen in public gatherings for weeks now. The unification minister also denied rumors Kim may have undergone some cardiovascular surgery that may have gone wrong. North Korea maintains there are no cases of coronavirus in the country. Up next, sport. FIFA speaks on COVID-19 operational funding. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. There are hopes Serie A fixtures could resume anytime soon. Serie A players can go back to training next Monday and team training 2 weeks later. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said this at a televised address. He also said there may be further evaluations on how the season would end. World Football Body FIFA says it is untrue that it donated $500,000 to each member association outside the yearly operational cost due to them. FIFA said on its website on Friday it would release operational funding due to member associations for the years 2019 and 2020. This means a total of $150 million will be distributed among the 211 national football governing bodies around the world. Each national governing body, including the Nigeria Football Federation, will receive $500,000, which FIFA says will be delivered upon fulfillment of specific criteria. This monetary assistance will help in taking care of financial or operational obligations. That is in the news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.
This is ANN.